Hi, everyone. I'm Becky Cope English, partner and managing broker of the agency Chattanooga, and welcome to Real Chat, where we explore all things Chattanooga, the people, properties, and places that make the scenic city so attractive. Whether you're buying your first home, selling your fifth, relocating for work, or tax advantages, you're in the right place. On this podcast, we break down real estate trends, talk with locals making a difference, and feature places that we love, and share our stories from the trenches that both surprise and entertain. No confusing jargon and no sales pitch, just honest conversations with real Chattanoogans and practical advice to help you buy, sell, lease, and live better in the greater Chattanooga area. Thanks for joining us. Let's get into today's episode. Hi, Preston Putnam.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad you're here
Yeah, I am too. Thanks for having me.
at this, our Real Chat, but I'm also super happy that you are at the agency, and the whole Putnam Property Group is at the agency.
Yes, yeah.
Now it's been a little over a year, right?
It has been, yeah, it has been over a year.
Yeah.
It's flown by.
You, I find you to be kind of a man of few words, which I think is a good thing because you really only say what's necessary. There are people like me that just talk. I probably talk too much. I know I do. I'm trying to be a better listener, but I find that you are very intentional with your words. Also, just in how you are as a real estate agent, you're very intentional with who your clients are as well.
Yeah, no, I try to be. I do try to be thoughtful about everything. But I've always been that way. So my mom would definitely say that. She's even as a little one, I was a man of few words. But then when I started talking, it was pretty relevant to whatever was going on. So
Well, once you find something that you're passionate about, which I find that you're maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, you're passionate about things that look good or nice or good design. I have been to your home. It is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
I think I said when I walked in, I hate you, which is ridiculous for me to say, but I'm like, I hate that you are so good at this. Your house
that is what you said.
Your house is beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then I have to credit you with zhuzhing our set here because what's behind me really and all around is you graciously doing the Preston Putnam thing and making everything look fantastic.
Oh, no. Well, thank you. No, I enjoy that kind of stuff. To me, that's like almost stress relieving to kind of put things together and make them look the way they need to, or, seeing something that is a bit of a mess and kind of organizing it and making a little bit of harmony where there may not have been. So,
well, I do know your mother because she's also an agent here. And when you're not here, we get to talk about you. And it's all good stuff. So I tell her how impressed I am with you, number one, and I mean that wholeheartedly. If you know me, I cannot tell a lie. It's hard for me to fake anything.
It's the Taurus in you, yeah.
Which is also a double-edged sword because I will say what I think to people kind of bluntly. I try to be gracious with that, but I don't always succeed. But in general, your attention to detail comes through in everything that you do as a real estate agent, including your paperwork, your presentation, how you present yourself. Also, which is one of my favorites, are your open houses. Your open houses, your broker opens are the best. It is like professionally planned. The food matches the house or our brand. I liked your little red velvet cupcakes that match the agency brand. But all of that, I mean, you really do, and you're not looking for accolades. It's just who you are. You're just that detail oriented.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. No, I mean it's the details, the details that tie to the branding. I mean, it's part of the reason I moved here, I think, was because I kind of recognized that in you and what you were doing. So
it wasn't me. Well, the agency does have amazing brand for sure. The marketing is honestly, I don't know of a brand that has more attractive branding and marketing But I also think that it's just because we have a good culture.
Was that too? Yeah.
You know, and the key is, I think when you and I first talked about you coming on board, because as agents, we run into each other in transactions or listings, showings, whatever, and we interact. So maybe you're going to do a showing, we have a conversation. That doesn't always pan out, but then down the road, I just always had such professional interactions with you. And unfortunately, I can't say that is very common. So immediately, I've always been like, hey, you're a great fit for kind of our culture. But then one of my agents said, Becky, do you know Preston Putnam? And I said, I do know Preston. Well, he is perfect for our office. And once she said it, I thought, you know what, you're absolutely right. And then we saw each other, we ran into each other at an event, and it just kind of naturally happened because we're so much alike that I'm not one of those persons that goes out and, is recruiting just out to be recruiting. It has to be organic. It has to be natural, and that's kind of how it happened, I think.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. It was very kismet. It's like I was like, no, I think this is where I need to be, the move I need to make. So
yeah,
because I don't like change as a rule. Usually, I'm very cautious about change. So yeah, changing brokerages, that was a big change, but
okay. So on that topic, in which I know that we're here to talk about something else, because I think you and I could have many of these conversations because there's so many topics. But you've been in business for how many years?
8 years last month. Yeah.
Okay, so you've had experience, and you've been at another brokerage, if not. Is it just one other brokerage that you've been?
It was just the one other.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you have experience at another brokerage. You've had experience at another, what I would say is a business model of a brokerage. And when an agent, because you said it perfectly, agents really don't like change because we're busy, and then it's so many things, small things you have to think about changing. So a lot of times it's, I don't want to change because I've got this big long laundry list of things to do. But then if the pressure or the pain threshold is such, then an agent changes. In your mind, and I'm not saying that something was wrong where you were, sometimes it's just better where you're going. Is there one or two things that you were lacking or that you were looking for when you came here?
Honestly, the attention to detail part, that does kind of stick out immediately because, it's at a larger brokerage, so it's a mixed bag of everything, and a lot of things kind of, they get missed just because there's so many people there. There's a lot going on. That's always the biggest fires getting put out first. So I wasn't upset with that at the time. I could see that, and I was like, it's, I'm my own brand, so I'm not going to get hung up on that. But I think at a certain point, it's like you realize if you're maybe in a little bit of a smaller place that you see that you're going to fit in better and you fit in with the brand better and also just with the culture, then it's worth making that change. Because I wasn't unhappy where I was, but it was one of those things where it's like there's some things that could be done better, and there's some kind of lines in the sand every once in a while that you're like make you reassess. Okay, how are other people doing this at other places? And so it's after many years, I was like, no, it's time. So
well, I'm glad it happened. You guys coming here and being a part of the agency, I think you brought that another element of, and validation is probably not the best word, but we chose the agency. We transitioned to the agency from Scout Realtor Group primarily because of how professional the entire company was, but also how collaborative the entire company was, and the professionalism. And so you wanting to come here, I say agreeing to come here, but when you wanted to come here, it validated that big decision that we had, because it was a tough decision. We were happy with Scout Realtor Group. We really were. But at the same time, we were trying to level up, and I think that's what you're saying. You just wanted to level up. And sometimes you do have to look elsewhere, even though it is change. Change can be good, and we try to support you in that whole endeavor.
Yeah, and y'all definitely have.
Good. So just real quickly, I wanted to ask you of any transaction that kind of stands out in your mind as that comes up every once in a while? I know that you've had quite a few. I know that there was one not long ago that we had to interact on. Sometimes you have to call your broker and say, hey, what do I do about this and that and the other?
Yeah.
But like your first transaction, was your first transaction, which wasn't here, obviously, if it was 8 years ago, but anything you want to share?
First transaction, maybe most stressful transaction, but no, yeah, that was a big learning curve, especially as being a brand new agent on a very large team. So there was training, there was everything in place that should have been there, but there's just there's experience, and so until you've had the actual experience, there's just things you don't know, things that you would nowadays I could catch immediately and know something was out of order. But yeah, no, that my very first closing was one of my most stressful ever. I looked like I'd been hit by a train by the time I came back to the office with the commission check. So
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah.
So what was stressful about it? Was it the client? Was it the other agent?
Well, they're actually the other agent was actually technically my boss because he was selling a personal property.
Oh, okay.
So, and I was one of the buyer's agents, and so someone called, wanted to see it, and so I ended up working with the buyer, and the buyer happened to be a doctor here in town. Very, very nice doctor, just very busy. Did not have time for much interaction, time for much of anything at all. So all the closing ended up happening at his office and in the hallways of the hospital with a notary I had to drag around. And
Wow.
and as a brand new agent, that was like, I thought the world had ended. I had done everything wrong. I was sweating bullets, didn't know what was going on.
And yet
The notary was confused. So.
Oh my goodness. Well, 8 years later, you realize that no deal, no transaction, no sale ever looks the same. They're all very, very different.
Yeah.
Most of them do close at a title company. Most of the time you sign papers, well, if not electronically, then on the kitchen table or somewhere like that in an office. But occasionally you have to pivot. And I think that's one of your strong suits too, is that you pivot. And it's kind of like you may be stressed out under the surface, but you don't let anyone see that. You solve it. You solve the problem. You pivot very well.
Yeah, I didn't realize how askew things have gotten until I was well into it, because we were in his office, getting all the papers signed, the notary's going through, and she reveals to us, well, your wife actually has to sign a few of these documents. I don't think you know that. Nowadays I would have been able to catch something like that immediately.
Yes.
But I'm like, well, where's your wife? Oh, well, she works here too. Let me call her and see where she is here in the hospital. Well, she's in the middle of a surgery, so she literally came out of surgery in her scrubs to the hallway and was signing documents on the wall of the hallway in the hospital for what she needed to
Wow.
sign.
So
I'm glad at least she was there. If she wasn't there, it would have been a much bigger problem.
working with physicians, I love it because especially residents, because they're new, they have no time, and they need someone to really do a lot of the heavy lifting for them, or I would say the legwork. And they see a few houses and make a decision if they're buying, if they're renting, same thing. But you do often have to go meet them where they are, and a lot of times that's in the halls of the hospital or the parking lot or the medical mall or where the Starbucks or the Chick-fil-A, because that's just what we do. We get things done. But that was that closed, successful closing.
It did close. It was my first closing, and I kind of learned not to be a yes man after that, a yes man agent. That can get you in some situations that cause more issues than good. So
yeah, I kind of find you, because I kind of eavesdrop on everybody in the office, and I kind of hear how people talk. You're a good, I say, tour guide, a navigator. You help people, I guess you tell them the next steps, and you keep the wheels on, I should say. We say that a lot. Sometimes we say the wheels came off. Wheels came off a closing for me yesterday, but I think they're being put back on right now.
Yeah, and sometimes sometimes they just come off and you can't help it. You just gotta help put them back on. Yeah.
Could be the lender, could be the title company, could be an appraiser, could be a lot of things. But overall, I think that now you're 8 years in, and you guys have been rocking and rolling this year, which I think is fantastic. And you cover, what areas do you cover?
I mean, so So I grew up in Dalton. My mom, she lives in Dalton now, but she's up here in Chattanooga all the time. So we're Chattanooga, Dalton, North Georgia. So that's really that's really where we know the most. And I try not to go way too far out.
Yeah, a lot of people probably don't know with where we are in Chattanooga, when you draw that circle around, with the exception of Alabama, which is a void right now, which we're working on. We are Hamilton County, but we do Marion, Sequatchie, and especially go down into Georgia, North Georgia, which you guys are really, I guess, of all of our agents, the most knowledgeable about the Dalton area, from Ringgold to Dalton, Tunnel Hill, those areas. So, well, I hope you'll come back for a longer conversation, and we might talk about some specifics about how sometimes people just want to terminate a contract, and those things that we're kind of fighting in our industry right now to keep buyers and sellers in the contract, I should say. Follow the contract, I should say.
There's plenty of interesting stuff that's happened recently that we can talk about.
But I'm especially happy that you guys are here and you're thriving, obviously. You do travel quite a bit. I wish that you would tone that back a little bit.
I'm trying. Yes. No, that definitely, we'll tone it down. We'll tone it down because it's
just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's, when you actually like where you work. So that helps too, not to want to travel so much.
We have some agency events coming up, so I hope that you'll put those in your calendar. But those are the ones I'm okay with. Just kidding. Unless I get to go with you. I'd love to go on a cruise.
Yeah, no, let's do it.
All right. Well, have a good day, and come back and see me soon here at Real Chat. I'll obviously see you in the office all the time, but come back to Real Chat.
Absolutely. No, I'd love to.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we jump back into today's episode, I'd like to thank our friend and sponsor, Huck and Peck. Honestly, Huck and Peck is one of my favorite places to shop in Chattanooga. Every time I walk in, I just get to wonder, get inspired, and I never feel pressured. The staff is lovely, and the atmosphere is both relaxed and welcoming. Most people think of Huck and Peck as a furniture store, but it's so much more. They have 20,000 square feet of showroom filled thoughtfully with curated furniture, lighting, rugs, artwork, decor, and unique pieces you won't find anywhere else. And trust me, it's much bigger than you would expect. Whether you're furnishing an entire home or just looking for one perfect piece, Huck and Peck is always worth a visit. Stop by their showroom on Chattanooga's South Side or visit them online to see what everyone's talking about. I think you'll quickly understand why it's one of my favorite local businesses. Now let's get back to today's episode. So, Vince Butler.
Yes.
You are now the Chief Philanthropy Officer at the Coolidge National Medal of Honor Heritage Center. Get all that out. How many times a day do you say that?
I try not to say it very much because it's too fancy of a title for what I do. But
so we've known each other for quite a while.
Yes.
I know that we met in 2017. I know we talk about this a lot. So I think it was March of 2017.
Yes.
And we met through the Medal of Honor Heritage Center, which has evolved.
Actually, if you back it up, I first met you at a fundraiser for Marty Haynes. And I made the I'll never forget the mistake of thinking you're going Derek and Becky Cope on a donor board at the fundraiser at Signal Mountain Golf and Country Club. And I'll never forget that because I walked in and that's when I first met you. I'd met Derek previously through some various events, but that's when I first met you.
Yep.
And I think that's that mistake kind of generated a friendship that's grown over the years. So,
well, thanks to you, I think Derek tells that story quite a bit. Which it only happened once, I think.
Yes, it happened once.
But yeah, that was Signal Mountain Golf and Country Club. Yep. Was that 2016 maybe?
2016.
2016. So we did meet 2016.
Yep.
So 10 years.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the common thread through people that I've been talking with so far. It's about 10 years or so. Well, I wanted to talk a lot about the Medal of Honor Heritage Center because it's very near and dear to our hearts. But
yes.
I kind of wanted to get to know you a little bit more, like where you came from. Yeah. You're from Texas, right?
I am. Born and raised in Amarillo, Texas. Went to Dallas to attend a school, University of North Texas, with plans to go to D.C. and do politics. And that was kind of my aspiration at the time. And and met my now wife. She was going to graduate school for political science, was in the process of applying to go to law school, taking her LSAT, getting ready. She got burned out of school. I eventually graduated with my bachelor's, but when she graduated with her master's, but she decided to go work for Cigna Insurance at the time. I ended up going to work for the public relations firm for Texas Instruments, and both of us never made it to D.C. She wanted to go to Georgetown Law, and but she decided to stay in Dallas and enter the business world. I quickly followed, and living in Dallas for. I actually lived in Plano for probably 5-6 years, and was having our first child. And we're like, do we really want to live in a big city? We both grew up in small towns in Texas, and we decided, no, that's not what we're going to do. Let's look at other opportunities. And she got a call from a friend that was her VP at Cigna, who had just taken a job at Provident at the time. And we visited Chattanooga in 1999. And really fell in love with it and said, this is a great small town. It reminds us of what we grew up in our childhoods. But we wanted to live somewhere where we can start our own journey.
So what year did you actually make it to Chattanooga?
My wife moved here in June of 2000. Okay. I followed in late January of 2021. And we thought both be here for 5 years, go back to Texas. And I've now been here for almost 26 years.
So it was 2001. Where did you work first?
I actually, kind of funny, when I was working at Texas Instruments in public relations and thinking I'd come to Chattanooga and thinking there'd be some technology companies to work here easily with my resume at the time, finding a job. And it was hard. I mean, I got some opportunities in Nashville and Atlanta. So I basically said I was going to stay as a consultant with Texas Instruments. So I was flying back and forth to Dallas all the time to be a PR consultant, doing the same job I was doing, but for the company at the time. But I'm now as a consultant. And then 9/11 happened. I actually got stuck. I was pulling into the airport when that second plane hit, and quickly realized that planes weren't going to be taking off. So I turned around and I got stuck in Dallas for 6 days. Finally got a plane back to Chattanooga, actually to Nashville. And it was interesting flying on that day, on that Saturday after 9/11, and they're repositioning planes. And I basically was put on a flight to Nashville at 7:47, and there were 6 people on that plane. And that hour and a half, 2-hour flight, I don't think anybody said anything except look at the floor. Even the flight attendants did not say much, but it was kind of strange. It kind of
somber. I would say somber.
Yeah, it was very somber, and I was doing that. But after the tech bubble kind of bust, and after 9/11, and those contracts were ended, and so I was like, what do I do? I've always liked to raise money, and
well, hold on. Nobody ever says that, I think. Every time I talk to someone in a nonprofit, they're like, but we don't like to ask for money.
Yeah.
You do, and I think that's why we get along, is because I don't mind asking for money either or fundraising for things that I'm passionate about. I know that you're the same way.
That's correct. And so I actually was looking and say, what do I want to do? There's no tech companies in Chattanooga, and I didn't really want to commute to Atlanta or Nashville to work. And so I said, I've always volunteered with American Cancer Society in Dallas. Was involved in their 2 big galas, the Kettle Barons Ball and Evergreen Gala there. And I said, let me just see what I can do. And fortunately, I had a wife that had a pretty good job that could afford me to take this leap of faith. I took a part-time job for the Alzheimer's Association, which led me to another great friendship that we share. Paying me $10 an hour, working 20 hours a week for Robin Grant, the wife of Eddie Grant, at the Alzheimer's Association. And it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot from Robin on how to raise money, how to be successful in development. And then doing that for about a year and a half, I said, I need to start really trying to find a full-time job here. So I took a position with American Cancer Society as their Hamilton County development person. And wouldn't do any PR, which I've done my whole life and what my background has always been and my college education was in. And so I did that fundraising for about 3-4 years, and then I started getting involved in local politics. I saw the need to try to find more women and younger people to run for office. And as I started volunteering for campaigns and getting more actively in local politics, I got a call from Wayne Kropp, who was the Republican chair, and said, "Hey, there's a local PR firm looking for somebody I think would be a great fit to get you back in PR."
Or Johnson?
Nope, that was the Mariah Group. And
Mariah Group, that's right.
I went to work in the Mariah Group, and that's really where I learned, how politics works. And I traveled the country for the next probably 6-7 years, fighting eminent domain actions from local governments trying to take over a private water utility through eminent domain. And I'd go in there and I would build a grassroots coalition and recruit business people to run for office and hopefully end that action and put it on a better path where they're focusing on their essential services versus trying to control development. And so that's where I really learned a lot of my how to politics and how to do campaigns and how to win elections. Then I have 2 boys, and they're getting an age where they're playing sports and getting more active in what they do. So I wanted to be here. And so I just went on my own. That was in 2010, 2011.
As an
independent,
consultant?
Yeah, consultant.
Okay.
Doing a lot of consulting work with the Johnson Group. And I got a call in 2015 from Bill Raines, and Major General Bill Raines, and said, "We're looking for somebody who can help us on a PR issue." And if you remember, in 2016, Coolidge Park, which was always supposed to be a veteran park.
Obviously for Charles Coolidge.
Charles Coolidge, Medal of Honor recipient in World War II. It was supposed to be a veteran park back when they created it in 1947. Over the years, it's evolved and it's turned into what it is today, which is a great park, but it's not truly a veteran park. So there's a part of that area that the Coolidge family said that would be a place to build a new museum that is currently at the time 900 square feet at Northgate Mall, and to build a 10,000 square foot museum on the Medal of Honor and the recipients tied to our area, which is quite a few. So I got brought into, at the time, Bill thought they had county and city support and everything was going fine. People were supportive of it. But then all of a sudden, they started getting some negative reaction from, at the time, Mayor Burke and the city council,
and
saying
that led to the little theater.
Yes. And then so I was brought in to kind of help this PR issue they had and trying to say, is the public going to support this? Is it, we truly believed that if we'd have fought it, we would have won the battle and got the site and the lease, but we probably would have lost the war because we'd have made a lot of people mad. So after
also, look where you are now.
Yes, in a great place.
Out.
So we actually held that public meeting at the Little Theater, and you were there. And I saw a side of Chattanooga I didn't really like, but at the time, we got together and said, is there a better opportunity, a better location, before we decide to go fight this war?
Well, can I interject? Not only that, because I did talk to Bill Raines at the same time, it's like not only do we need to find another location possibly, but do we need to pivot on what our, and you say museum, and now it's a heritage center. So it is kind of today, I call it a living, breathing classroom on character education, which honors the veterans and recipients.
Yes.
So not only did you find another location, the meaning, what was built, I feel like is so much more engaging.
Yeah, and if you look at the early drawings of what was going on in Coolidge Park versus what is there today, it did evolve. And there was a lot of discussion about using the word museum or heritage center, and it was a lot of intense debating and arguing back and forth. We eventually landed on heritage center because that really conveys our core part of the mission of education. And so when we went public, we got the rights to have it at the Aquarium Plaza, but the property is owned by River City, and they put some really serious challenges on this group that a lot of people at the time didn't think would be possible. We had to raise $1 million in 3 months. When we went public in August of 2017, we had to have $1 million raised by the end of the year. to get the lease, the right to sign the lease. And then we had the next benchmark in 2018. We had to raise $3 million and show that we had.
Let's pause right there because let me say this. One thing about you that I'm impressed by is your institutional knowledge.
Yeah.
I call you or text you all the time to ask you questions because historically people who did what, when did it happen, and in this case, I remember 2017 because I had agreed to come on board for the Celebration of Valor, which was the luncheon that we kicked off that year to raise money. But I was involved, and I remember how everyone's saying $1 million in 3 months is literally impossible. But honestly, I mean, you pulled it off. You and others pulled it off. But I'm thankful that the background that you just shared all was culminating into that moment when you were able to get, we can do this. And we did. I know this. I know the county and the state stepped up, but we also had some really generous businessmen too.
We look at when we first started that campaign, we announced that we were going to build the Aquarium Plaza. We had a big press conference. And in that shell, I remember being there. A big shell of a building. And we said we're going to prove the veterans want this. We kicked off a campaign to sell 250 memberships, $500 a piece. 500 memberships, $500 a piece to raise $250,000. Then we're like, okay, we're $500,000. So where do we get the rest? And Greg Vital, incredible philanthropist, great supporter, came and told us, said, all right, your first major gift between $100 to over $100,000, I'll match. And we knew we had been talking to Diane Black, and who was a congressman at the time, and Dr. David Black, who is an incredible philanthropist, businessman out of Nashville.
A great Tennessean.
And they came in, and we told them about the vision, walked them through the building, and we were at the Walden Club, and this was late November. And we said, we have to raise $1 million by the end of December. We were probably about $650,000, $700,000 to that goal through our board gifts and then the veteran campaign. And then they fell in love with us, and they said, this has got to happen. They said, we're going to send you a check for $250,000. And I'll never forget when Bill and I called Greg Vital and said, we got good news and bad news. And then so between Greg and the Blacks, we got to $1.3 million in basically 3.5 months, which kicked it off and surprised a lot of people.
It did.
And then when we got involved, they have always held a dinner, historically, the Medal of Honor Heritage Center, and it's raised about $20,000 to $25,000. It was very casual. It wasn't really a true
I actually called it a buffet, but I think it might have been a little dinner.
And so I hired a guy that worked with me, Eddie Grant, who again goes back to my relationship with Robin Grant. He had just left First Things First and started his own company. And I said, I need your help to kind of create an event, a signature event that's going to help us raise the name ID awareness of this organization, this community. As we're trying to raise roughly $7 million to build this Heritage Center and open it by 2020. And Eddie says, I'm on board. This is a great cause. I love Bill Raines, and that's kind of, again, a common thread with a lot of people. And he came on board, and we sat and said, all right, we're going to have this dinner, this lunch. Who do we want to chair it? And he says, I know this lady I've recently met named Becky English. And I'm like, I know her. And it's like, actually, I had told him a story about misspelling the name of Derek and Becky Cope. And we agreed, and then we had the breakfast. And that's when I really first met you, became good friends since, was a breakfast with Eddie. And we said, we want to do this, and we need a chair, and we wanted to ask you to be the chair.
And Eddie Grant, which is so interesting that you worked with Robin, and that's how you met Eddie, obviously. But when I met Eddie, we hit it off. I think we had a 3-hour meeting. We talked about everything under the sun. And what I learned from Eddie, I'm so grateful for, because I've carried that forward to other nonprofits that I've worked with. Also, throughout Medal of Honor, all of the functions, the Celebration of Valor, the golf tournament, just everything that we've done, dinners.
Do you remember the first speaker?
Oh gosh, I want to say Romeshay, but
No.
oh, okay.
Jimmy Blackman.
That's right.
He was a colonel in the 160th, and he actually commanded 3 Medal of Honor recipients.
And I have his book.
I still correspond occasionally with him on Facebook. Incredible guy, still on the speaker tour. But yeah, if you look at those first few years.
So Romeshay was second?
No, Romeshay was third. It was Jack Jacobs.
What did I say? Yep. Institutional knowledge. I always ask you.
He went to Jack Jacobs, then he went to Romeshay. Romeshay was 2019, and incredible. And I'm always indebted for you this, because you introduced us to Chip and Sydney Howalt, who were a book sponsor, and we had gotten to about 5.5 million is where we were at the time, and we knew if we got to 6 million, then the foundations would come in and do the last million to get us to the grand opening and finish out the project. So we're roughly at 5.5, and it's 2019, and the luncheon happens, and Bill Hollander was the chair, and
I like Bill and his ask.
And so we let him make the ask. It all messed up, but he did a great job and a great chair. But after that, Clinton Romeshay spoke. Chip was so moved, and Bill Stubner said, "We've got to raise." And I want to say it was June when we did this. He said, by the end of the year, we got to raise another $500,000-$600,000 to get us to 6 million, so we can get the last million done through the foundations. And Chip walked up and told Bill, said, "I'm going to send you a check for $500,000. Get you there. We got to make this happen." Bill calls me.
And how you did not have a heart attack on the spot, I don't know.
I didn't. I wasn't there. Oh. I got a call from Bill. I'm like running around trying to.
I was going to say, you weren't there when he walked up.
Yeah, no.
But you were there at the event.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got the call from Bill and said, "Hey, some guy, don't know who he is, just said he's going to give us $500,000 and mail the check next week. We got to find out who he is." Like, what do you mean? He's like, "This guy." Yeah. I'm like, who in the world? And I remember scrambling, and then somebody told me that it was Chip that walked up, and I can't remember who, but and that was him. I was like, I've never talked to. All I did is shook his hand and said, "Thank you, sponsor." We did if you remember at the Edwin, we actually had a walkthrough where we bus people from Edwin down to the Heritage Center so they could see the boards and the design and the video, what it was going to look like. And he came to that, and that's when I first met him. But I didn't get to talk to him at the lunch. I just knew he made the gift, and so I was like, I remember calling you, telling you, and it's like, I need his number. We got to call him and say thank you. And yeah.
Well, I'm going to quickly give credit, because there's something I want to ask you that I think is very important, and we have not a whole lot of time left, but I'll give credit where credit's due. First of all, this is a God thing. I told Bill Raines when what happened at Little Theater.
There's no way
with
to
the
explain
public,
it, but be a God thing.
Totally. Yeah. And because, and I'm saying this intentionally, because it's telling one person, it's like throwing a pebble in a pond. It's the ripple effect.
Yeah.
And because I had invited someone who invited someone, that's how that happens. And that's another reason why working with nonprofits that I'm passionate about, I tell people, because you never know who you tell. They might not be the person that gives, but they know somebody who will. And so it's so important. So what I have learned from Chip, which I carry forward, not sure where he got it, but he said you can give your time, talent, or treasure. And they've given their treasure, also their time. But I tend to say I give my time and my talent and my little treasure. We can all give something, but that's how that all happens.
And if you talk to a lot of people in nonprofits, especially in development, time is probably more precious than money sometimes, because you can't do it by yourself. You need volunteers. And the time that people give you, a lot of times, is more valuable than a dollar donation. They're great. I love the dollar donations because they help fund the mission, but people's time is a lot more valuable, especially when you're doing events. And but you said something earlier, you're right as well. You may not, and people are always worried about, who, I can't raise money. or I'm scared to ask. But once people start thinking, okay, well, I know this person, I can't ask him, I don't want to ask, but I can help introduce, or I know somebody that knows somebody that will help me introduce. And that's really what development, the
That's all you have
success,
to do.
the key tool to development is A, supporting people and making them feel comfortable to help make an ask. A lot of times it is just get me in the door and I can do the ask. But I think everybody can do it. I think you just have to have support and encouragement. And but you'd be really surprised. I mean, no matter who you are, your network, you have connections. You just haven't really realized it. And that's a lot of
Well-
time my job is just trying to help people realize that they have the connections and they can do
And you
fundraising.
pretty much know everyone in our city, in our county now, to know who's connected
Yeah.
to who,
Yeah.
which is amazing. But let me ask you this question, because this really is meaningful to me. The Medal of Honor Heritage Center, Medal of Honor recipients. When I've been around
Yes.
them in their presence, and sometimes it's just one, sometimes it's a few, sometimes it's been dozens, which we've been around, I feel like I am in the presence of greatness, and I just have this overwhelming amount of gratitude and awe, really. I kind of find like I'm starstruck, which is not what the recipient wants at all.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a disparaging way, because they're not celebrities, but they are someone, we say, an ordinary person who did something extraordinary just of the moment. But you get to and have built relationships, become personal friends.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what it's like being able to be so close to these recipients.
Yeah. You know, I think sometimes people don't realize how, I guess, fortunate that I am, but, you know, how fortunate it is if you get to meet a Medal of Honor recipient, because there's only 64 living over the 3,500 plus
You've
recipients.
had to change that number pretty regularly here lately.
Yeah. Actually, it went down to 60 and then it's back up to 64 over the last couple of weeks. But it is, I'm always struck every time I get to meet with them. But what you've learned, talking to them, they will always say, I didn't do anything special. I was doing what I was trained to do. I was doing my job. And a lot of them, if not all of them, would say, yes, I received the Medal of Honor, but I like to talk about the stories of those that were by my side in that battle, many of which did not come back, or if they did come back, they have some injuries that are really challenging to live with. And they like to talk about the valor, the courage, the sacrifice those men made more than what they like to talk about their story. And I think that's a common thread. But and again, a local recipient, Captain Larry Taylor, and talking to him, I mean, he was very humble. He would always say, I'm just doing my job, and you're
Charles
trained.
Coolidge said the
Charles
same
Coolidge.
thing.
He's like, you don't leave a man behind. He was going to do everything he could to try to rescue those 4 soldiers that were surrounded by a couple hundred enemy forces.
In World War II.
Yeah, and then Charles Coolidge, he had 19 young recruits that he was leading into a battle against 300 Germans and 3 Panzer tanks. It is, but he was trained to lead those men in a fight. Larry Taylor was trained to do everything he can to rescue men and protect them. And knowing to great sacrifice that they have, I mean, Charles Coolidge went toe-to-toe with tanks and was jumping bunker to bunker as the tank's trying to shoot him. And you
Because the
think,
tanks don't move that quickly.
I know.
That's what I think is so funny. But a nimble Charles Coolidge did what he did. I can picture it.
But a tank shell, you think a tank, they're
it's-
firing at him, and I'm like, and they have machine guns, and I'm like, it's just incredibly
dangerous.
But all the recipients, they are ordinary people, did something extraordinary, but they always say, I was just doing my job, and I had to be picked out to receive this medal. But it is heavy. It is a lot of pressure and demands put on upon you. But they take it because they know
It's another duty.
it's a duty, and it's a way they can honor those that
Did not
they
make
served with and did not make it,
Right.
and talk about them and keep their legacy alive.
Who is the recipient that always wears the red shirt? That blue medal, the blue ribbon and the medal, and he wears the red shirt. And and he says it's just symbolic of the blood that was shed. I think that is so poignant.
That's a story I've not heard.
Well,
I wonder who it was.
I got his face in my head. I just can't think of his name. But it's been wonderful to meet Sammy Davis,
Yep.
the real Forrest Gump.
That's true.
He's incredible, great speaker. Just recently, you guys are having the Wine and War.
Yeah.
Also, this new thing that you guys just did with the recipient Birdwell.
Yes,
He's
yes.
incredible with
Yep.
the Cherokee
Trail of
Supreme
Tears
Court.
Yep.
Like, I learned so much.
Mike
event.
Thornton is another one who was the one of two of the SEALs that started SEAL Team 6. And you meet him, and he is a mountain of a man. I mean, he's 6'4".
Well,
And
for those people who
just-
don't know,
yeah.
have not been to the Medal of Honor Heritage Center, which is beside the aquarium in downtown Chattanooga, it is 19,000 square feet. It
Yes.
is a living, breathing classroom, in my opinion, on character traits that the recipients all had, which everyone should have.
Yep.
What I love is it ties the stories of the recipients to these character traits. So as you walk through chronologically, you start with the Civil War and go all the way through to our wars in the Middle East.
Yep.
We have a new exhibit that we're going to be talking about soon. Actually, two new exhibits. And we have the, I say we because I feel like I'm such a part of the Heritage Center. But so much is happening. And what people, I think, may not know is when you walk through, you learn about history. You learn about stories. This is really a place about storytelling.
Yeah.
So it's not about a battle. It is about a person and what they did. And so we've got Desmond Dawes, we have Charles Coolidge, we have George Jordan, we have Mary Walker. I mean, all of these different recipients.
Yeah, I'd like to say,
portrayed.
there's one thing that we're proud of, that Chattanooga is the birthplace of the Medal of Honor. The first medals were awarded for action in and around Chattanooga 163 years ago. That's a great pride of me, but also many people that live in this community. But the Heritage Center is so much more than just a museum, military museum. You kind of you have a perception of what a military museum is, and we're so much more. You walk in there, and through the stories of the recipients, we show you that the 6 values that are embodied in the Medal of Honor: citizenship, patriotism, courage, commitment, sacrifice, and integrity, that we all have these values within ourselves. But how do we, through these stories, learn that we can embody that particular trait to do something extraordinary in our own lives or whatever we're doing?
Even not extraordinary. So kids, and I know these teachers because I remember the first school that brought in our character program was Cayuga Hall.
Yeah.
And I remember this teacher saying, it has transformed my classroom. Students are so different. And luckily, the education program has grown by leaps and bounds.
Leaps and bounds, yes, it
The
has.
education program there now is, I'm just in awe of where it's headed.
Yeah.
And the books that have been written.
Yeah.
How many books now? Children's books?
3.
3 children's books. It's incredible. And people can buy the books there. I know we have a gift store, but a coffee bar. And there's just so many things
And like
there.
I said, a lot of times people come by and they'll see the name, they think it's like military museum. I would encourage you, if you haven't visited, come in, walk through the galleries. I think you're going to be impressed. They're life-size dioramas, a lot of video and some sound to kind of help immerse you into that story to show what that trait means. But it's they have meaning if you're an adult or a kid, but how do we ensure these values which I call 6 quintessential American values? How do we ensure the next generation knows these traits? How do we know, help them understand to have, I always like to say this West Point term, the courage to do the harder right versus the easier wrong? How do we teach kids the benefit of sacrifice, putting the interests of others in front of your own?
The tagline that we often say is, we educate the future to honor the past.
Yes.
And I think the recipients that I've spoken with,
Yes.
or at least what I've gathered from their speeches, is they are so proud of the Heritage Center because it tells stories, it honors what sacrifices were made, but it's going to preserve our republic.
Yes.
And I don't think a lot of people think of that as much as we do, obviously being involved heavily. But if we are going to preserve this republic, this is how we do it. We do it by remembering sacrifices because
Yeah.
freedom's not free.
Yeah, and we're sure we're gonna have a war again in the future. We'll always have that. Will always happen, but there's battles you have in life throughout your life that you'll have where you got to face a challenge, an issue, or an obstacle. But how do you learn to answer that, to overcome that, and whatever you're doing in life? And I think that's when you talk these values, it's just not on the battlefield. Yes, we tell the stories of the recipients and it happened on the battlefield, but you have issues and challenges throughout your life.
There's little
that you have to put those values into action to do something to overcome that challenge. And I think that is what I like most about our education program is you're talking to kids that may not serve, but they're going to.
But I know, because I've heard Miranda say this, it's like we take a story of a recipient and we say, what character traits did they embody? What did they demonstrate? And then how do you apply this to your life?
Yes.
And we talk about the YFD centers where the program was taught and kids are just like raising their hand and saying, oh, okay, now I know what citizenship looks like.
Yeah.
It looks like holding the door for this other child who's carrying too many books or picking up someone's book or pencil that they dropped. That's citizenship.
And we've had stories of integrity where we've had kids actually from the program who said, I stole something, and I'm going to go return it.
Right.
And so I think kids can learn, kids can do incredible things. It's just somebody has to inspire them to do it.
And the real role models, real people. I say this a lot. I know that children and a lot of adults have their role models are celebrities or they're athletes, whatever that may be. But these are better role models. They're real people. And a lot of these people who received the medal, these young men, they were very young.
Yeah.
A lot of them were in their late teens and early
20s.
Yep.
And
so it can be done even before your brain is fully formed.
Okay.
You can still do some amazing things.
That is true.
I know we need to wrap up. We've actually gone over time. This is what I always say about you, a good friend, and I do have.
Thank you. You're a good friend of
have
mine,
an
too.
immense amount of respect for you.
Thank you.
I'm a cheerleader. I know a lot of people give you a hard time, including myself. But I am a big cheerleader of yours because I see how dedicated you are and how much time you give and how much you care.
Right,
and that's real. But this is a little fun round. So I want to ask you, Coca-Cola or Pepsi?
Definitely Coke.
Wow. Okay.
I'm from the South. Nobody drinks Pepsi in the South.
And we call it, everything is Coke.
I know.
So for your favorite way to experience Chattanooga's history?
My favorite way is to go to the Medal of Honor Heritage Center, of course. But outside of that, to me, it's I'm a big history buff. It's going to Lookout Mountain, to Missionary Ridge, to Chickamauga, kind of seeing the battle that split our country.
We're in the cradle of all of that. It's amazing.
And learning about the Civil War, because that truly is a war that split this country in half. It tore it apart. And
kind of reminds us of where we are today a little bit.
A little bit, yes. But you realize that through our differences, we learn to become friends again and talk again and become a country again.
We have more
and
in common than we have
in difference. Yeah, and I think that the Civil War is the epitome of that.
Yep.
And how brothers and sometimes friends fought against each other, but once the war's over, they're friends again, and they say they work for the betterment of the country.
Right. Well, thank you for being here.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me.
And thanks for all the time that you give. And I have to say, thanks to your family, your beautiful wife, Amy, for sure, because she really does loan you out a lot.
She does. She does, and incredible. But there's a lot of things I get to do because of her, so it is a two-way street. But yeah, love of my life, been married 30 years, got 2 incredible boys. Hopefully someday both those boys will come back to Chattanooga.
I think it's going to happen sooner than later.
I hope so.
Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
We'll talk again in the near future.
I'm sure we will.
Thanks.
Thanks.